If you're unfortunate enough to have been a Star Wars fan over the past decade plus, the era of Disney Star Wars, where George Lucas's Star Wars ceased to exist and it officially became Disney Star Wars, you've probably seen a pattern emerge. Lucasfilm makes something that's absolutely trash, that fans reject, that fans don't like, characters they're not interested in, made with identity politics at the forefront. And then when fans complain, Lucasfilm turns around and they blame those said fans. Well, you know, these people, they're just racist, they're just bigots, they're just this, they're just that, regardless of why people are criticizing these characters. But when it comes to the next Disney Star Wars disaster, The Acolyte, we've known that script was gonna play out for quite some time, but I don't know who thought it was gonna play out before the show even aired. We're used to seeing things like Obi-Wan Kenobi gets absolutely crushed by fans, and they try to distract you with, oh, they just don't like Moses Ingram because she's black. It can't be because her character is useless, and because she doesn't belong in the show, and because Obi-Wan's getting destroyed, and because Leia's getting destroyed. It can't be because of all those things. It must just be the color of her skin. Well, with The Acolyte, Kathleen Kennedy herself has decided to step into the ring and already preemptively blame fans for backlash that is inevitably going to occur. Kathleen Kennedy on Star Wars Woke complains, storytelling does need to be representative of all people. Man, it's weird because I feel like Star Wars back in the late 70s and early 80s, I feel like people all over the world, of all creeds, of all religions, of all colors, I feel like everybody loved fucking Star Wars, even though you might not have had your lesbian character or your trans character or whatever the fuck they have to throw in everything now. Seems like that storytelling was appealable to everybody because everyone could relate to elements of Star Wars. So now in a new interview to promote The Acolyte, which now that we know a little bit about The Acolyte, we know why this matters so much to them, why they have so much writing on this. By the way, it's reported that The Acolyte budget is around $180 million. I think it is actually higher than that, but these are the new estimates that are coming out. We usually don't get the full scope until a year after these things release, to be honest with you. 8 episodes, $180 million. This is why they're shilling so hard for this thing. And this is why Kathleen Kennedy, before the thing even airs, is already blaming male fans for backlash that they know is probably coming. It's terrifying, Kathleen Kennedy says. Women in Star Wars have it harder with toxic fandom. Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy comments on how the male-dominated Star Wars fan base tends to be more toxic with the females of the franchise. I can't wait for some examples here. I can't wait for them to let us know what's going on. Many Star Wars fans are happy to consume as much content as the franchise can provide. I think that's been proven untrue with the recent ratings. However, there's always a certain portion of the fan base that can be quite toxic with the creators and actors of the franchise, though Kathleen Kennedy has observed that it gets worse with women. The comments were made during an interview with the New York Times in promotion of the new Disney Plus series, The Acolyte. The Star Wars show has Leslie Headland on board as showrunner, and Kennedy said she already noticed her struggling before the series had even been released. For the Lucasfilm president, it seems terrifying for the women of the franchise, both creators and performers, because of how personal some of the attacks can be from the male-heavy fan base. Quote, operating within these giant franchises now with social media and level of expectation, it's terrifying, Kennedy explained. I think Leslie struggled a little bit with it. I think a lot of women who step into Star Wars struggle with this a bit more. Because of the fan base being so male-dominated, they sometimes get attacked in ways that can be quite personal. It's funny because for the past 2 decades, right, the media has tried to gaslight people into these lies. They're just straight up lies that, you know, Ahmad Best, the actor who played Jar Jar Binks, that he nearly ended himself because he got bullied by the fans. Really, it was the media who were the ones that were so critical of him. We've heard the same things about Jake Lloyd, who played young Anakin Skywalker, that he had all these problems because the people said mean things to him about how he played Anakin. No, he's got other mental health problems. But let's just take the media at their word. That some of the characters that were more criticized than any others, young Anakin Skywalker, Jar Jar Binks, the male fan base was doing this, right? The predominantly male fan base were being extremely critical of those characters, weren't they? And to be honest, a lot of things in the prequels, you've got your section of fans that took issue with certain things in the prequels. But where were all these attacks against, you know, female characters like Leia or Padme? Where was this massive backlash 20 years ago? You know, the same makeup when you look at male versus female in the franchise. Where were these attacks at? Isn't it much more likely That what happens is people see something and they say, wow, this character sucks. I don't like this character. This is useless. This is bad. This is poor writing for whatever the reason. The whole thing is just so absolutely insane and stupid. You go, oh, well, they just don't like black people in Star Wars. Everybody points directly to Billy D. Williams and to Samuel L. Jackson, where there are a bunch of people mad that there were black people in Star Wars. No, there wasn't. And that still is the same way today. People criticize bad characters. You've got the lead character from The Acolyte right up here against Rey and Rose Tico. Rey and Rose Tico, in a lot of people's minds, are dog shit characters, and they got criticized for that. And despite the mainstream media gaslighting everybody about how much these individual actors or actresses were bullied, a lot of it tends to be overblown and overhyped and lies. Kelly Marie Tran felt pressure from the industry. That's why she got off social media. Daisy Ridley got criticized for a take she had on gun control. Something that had nothing to do with Star Wars. She got a lot of heat. That's why she ended up deleting social media. But these characters, people despise the characters themselves. People wanted to like Rey. Look at what Force Awakens did. $2 billion at the box office, must because all those people just fucking hate women. They got to remember that was when they were laying the groundwork, and some people couldn't see what a terrible movie Force Awakens was. People wanted to be hope for this thing. They wanted Rey to be an awesome character. They wanted to love her. They wanted Star Wars to be back. But it wasn't. And people finally had to accept that and realize that she's just not a very good character. There's a lot of problems when it comes to the writing. And if you want to make the argument about creators, female directors, blah, 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 what director got more criticism, more backlash than any other in Star Wars over the past decade? It's Rian fucking Johnson. When you start to stack all these things up, the people that the media says got all of the backlash from the male-dominated fan base over the course of the last couple decades. When you look at the women who have had no backlash for their role in Star Wars, isn't it much more likely that fans, when they watch something and they evaluate it, whether a character's white, black, Asian, Hispanic, whatever it may be, whether it's a woman, whether it's a man, whether they're gay, trans, whatever the fuck, isn't it much more likely that when fans see a character they don't like, they say, wow, I don't like that character. Whether it's because of the role in the story, whether it's because of the forced agenda that you can clearly tell is at play, whether it's because it destroys something in Star Wars, or whether it's because it takes away from the story that most people think they should be trying to tell, that fans voice their concerns. But now, Kathleen Kennedy, once again, preemptively, by the way, is shitting on the Star Wars fan base. You'd think that after a dozen years, you would learn. But no, Kathleen Kennedy has still not learned. You know why there is so much vitriol for Kathleen Kennedy? It's not because she's a woman. It's because Lucasfilm is a shit show, and she is the one in charge. I can tell you, me personally, I've been just as vitriolic towards somebody like Dave Filoni as I've been towards Kathleen Kennedy. People didn't agree with me for a while. Now they're starting to come around on old Dave Filoni as well. The truth is, fans are going to voice their opinions. And when that opinion is something that's bashing Disney Star Wars, Lucasfilm come up with a way to blame fans instead of admitting that there's problems with their storytelling. And The Acolyte we are only getting started. It hasn't even come out yet, and they're already laying the foundation to blame fans for its failure. And Leslie Headley made some comments too, probably going to save that for another video, but what do you guys think about this? Kathleen Kennedy, in a New York Times interview, by the way, admitting that the vast majority of the Star Wars fan base is male, man, you'd think you'd actually make some shit for them once in a while, wouldn't you? Yet nevertheless saying, well, they're just so sexist that the women in Star Wars have such a hard job. They face a lot of backlash. Fucking pathetic. What do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments section below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.